Hello, my friends. This is Simulan, and I have a new obsession. It's KeeperRL. This is a really fun mix of being the bad guy and base building, along with some tactical gameplay that gets really nitty-gritty if you want it to, and I've had a lot of fun with it. I've been playing for a couple weeks now. I just got my first win, and one thing I really went looking for when I first started playing were some beginner tips or beginner guides, and I really couldn't find anything that I liked. And this game is pretty deep, so I decided I'd make them myself. You're going to have to watch all the way through because I did save the best for last, but here are 10 things that I wish I knew when I started playing KeeperRL. Number 1, I would encourage you on your first playthrough to choose the classic game rather than trying out some of the others. There's a lot of replayability in this game, both because of the different factions that you can choose and how the worlds are kind of randomly generated and you never know what you're going to find. But the game is kind of structured around learning how to play in Classic, and then the other factions sort of change that. And it's a lot easier to wrap your head around this game when you're playing Classic. It doesn't matter whether you play the Wizard or whether you play the Knight, it's just whether your Keeper character will be casting spells or swinging swords. When I first played, I picked Undead and got into a lot of trouble because I didn't understand how it worked, or that my characters couldn't walk in the sunlight, and we kind of died. So don't be like me. Play your first game in Classic. It'll go a lot better. Number 2, something I struggled with for a long time when I first started playing was how to find iron. A tip for that is you can dig up. For some reason, I thought you could only dig down to build your base, but you can dig up, make stairs up, and if your darn imps will get out of the way, let's give you something to do. Go cut down some trees, buddies. You just click on the stairs, and all of a sudden you can go up. And on the second level, you can find all sorts of stuff. This right here, that's iron. That's what you're looking for. It took me so long to find that, but just dig up if you need iron. That really unlocks a lot of things, from ironworking to building prisons. Number 3, this one comes up a lot with prisons, and tip number 4 is going to be all about prisons and how to use them. But before we even get there, one thing I recently learned that you can do that is incredibly helpful. If you've got a minion and you don't know where they are because you've got 200 levels dug down, but you need them to go to a particular place, you can drag them right from here to where you want them to go. So if I need this peasant to go execute themselves, but I can't find them, I can just drag them right from here to the gallows, and wherever they are, they'll start walking over here and they'll hang themselves. We'll just hang out for a minute or two. There we go. Peasant goes down, hanging out, and there you go. We've got a dead peasant. This is useful in other ways too. If you need, like, again, you've lost some minion and you need them to get where you want them to go, just grab them and drag them. Number 4 took me a little while to figure out, and that's how exactly do you prison? What can you do with one? How do you build it? Before you can build a prison, you're going to need to get iron. You're going to need a good bit of it to build out a nice sized prison. So dig up, find you some iron, get that mined and stored. Once you have it, you can just go over here to the building section, and you need prison tiles. The tiles limit how many characters you can have in prison at a time. You don't need to worry about that right now. You can put a prison door in it if you'd like to, although I believe any door will work. The tiles just need to be sealed off from the rest of your dungeon. I like the prison doors though, because aesthetically they're pretty cool. Some of the other stuff that you might want in your prison is a gallows to get rid of prisoners that you don't want anymore, a torture table to convert them, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute, and something I've forgotten, which is beast cages. If you're going to capture things to use as steeds, you want to have some beast cages in here to store them in. All right, let's show you how to get prisoners, and then I'll show you how to convert them. All right, so to get a prisoner, all you need to do is hover over the unit that you would like to make your prisoner, and then right-click and select Order Capture. Actually, you don't even have to do that. You can just left-click the darn things. I just learned something new right in the middle of this video. Just left-click on them if you're not right on top of them and select Order Capture. And now, pew pew! When you finish them, it shows that they're wounded and unconscious instead of just a pile of meat on the floor. Now, once you're done, you can exit control mode, and it'll show enemies killed and enemies captured. Cool, cool. And we'll see them right here show up in your recruitment menu. If you have enough tiles, you can select them. Now note my population is 9, When I select the prisoner, it doesn't go against my population, which is pretty cool. And that little peasant will eventually show up in the prison. Before you can really do anything with them, they need to drop off whatever they were carrying. So if they were carrying weapons or potions, they're going to go to the storage areas and drop those off. You'd want to make sure as you're playing through that you have a sufficient amount of population to cover for the prisoners, or you could get into territory of a rebellion risk. But you don't need to stress about that too much. It'll have a little pop-up telling you that. And if you see that, just recruit more soldiers. All right, last thing about prisons is how torture works. All you got to do is drag the unit that you'd like to convert to the torture table. Eventually, one of your buddies will come in here and torture them. And right here, it says a prisoner is converted to your side. As I understand it, when the unit is spawned in the world, it is decided whether or not they will convert from torture. So you do not need to try to save scum. If they don't convert, they'll never convert. If they do, they always would have. Once they're on your team, you can use them just like anybody else. You can give them gear, you can move them around, you can control them. This is pretty useful because some of the things you can capture are way more powerful than the dudes you can recruit. And another thing that's cool about prisoners is they'll do the work that your imps would do. So, like if you don't have enough money to buy more imps, you can get a bunch more prisoners and have them digging your tunnels. Okay, that was a long tip, but how to prison is kind of a big one. Number 5, we're gonna have a little lesson on a few common key bindings, and then I'll encourage you to check out some more. A few that I've found useful are tap D to dig or cut tree, and you can go ahead and start drawing your lines there where you'd like to excavate. Another one that's really, really useful for this is if you tap A and then highlight things, you're telling your imps to prioritize this task. So if you've got a bunch of other stuff queued, they'll stop whatever they're doing and get over here to start working on this. As soon as it's done auto-saving, you'll see that start to happen. Another one that I frankly changed my life when it came to tactics and combat was F to fire arrows. So you don't have to go click everything every single time you do it with your ranged troops. But you can real quick press escape and check settings, key bindings, and see a lot of useful ones here. Some of them may be more useful for you than these were for me. I know spacebar is another one that I use for pausing, but go through and read these and see what they are. And you can save yourself a lot of time and kind of frustration by being able to just use these hotkeys and get this stuff done, because some of it's tough to do from the menu. Number 6, I want to explain exactly what full control mode is and how you can use it to your advantage when you're playing, but I'm going to start at the very beginning about how to build a team. When you'd like to create a team, you can grab and drag everybody that you'd like on that team down to where it says new team. It's the first one. And now after you've got somebody on that team, you just drag everybody else to them, right? So I've got my keeper, then I drag these 2 bandits down, I drag these goblin warriors down, and you know what, we'll even bring our buddy peasant that we just recruited. Once we've got that done, we can click control and we can decide where we'd like to go. This works for you going down to explore things in, you know, the depths of your dungeon that you've dug, and you can also go out and adventure in the world. Now, if you're going to go adventure in the world, you just click on where you'd like to go and then confirm, and all of a sudden you're there. Now you can move by clicking the mouse or using the number pad, and you'll see that your keeper moves, or whoever you've got set as the leader moves, and everybody else just follows them around. And this is mostly fine for some parts of the game, but when it comes to combat, and here we're going to be fighting some peasants or some zombies, so it's not really that big a deal. Let's get in here and fight these zombies. Man, those are some easy zombies, or I'm just really strong. Once you get in here and you're fighting zombies, you may actually want to control all of the units. So all you do here is click control mode leader, and you swap it to full control mode. Now I can choose what to do for my leader, and after I'm done with them, I can choose what to do for everybody else that's on this team. We can also click on them and decide that we'd like to move them now. So if I need to move this goblin now, I can do that. Now, again, right now, tactically, there's not a huge advantage for this. We're fighting zombies in a hallway, but this can be very useful when there's lava and other things to mess around with. And also, really, really, really encourage you, when you are taking your keeper out anywhere, you need to be controlling the keeper. If your keeper is blinded, they will walk into magma and die and your run is over, okay, if you're not controlling them. So what we could do is be in full control mode leader and have somebody else as the leader. This is incredibly dangerous to be controlling this goblin and let the AI control the keeper. Now, again, probably nothing would happen to him now because we're in a hallway. He can't really injure himself, but it sure seems like they like to walk off of bridges and die if you're not micromanaging them. So pay attention to your keepers. And like I said, I would encourage you, if you're going to get into combat and you really need to win it, you can do full control mode just by clicking here, or G actually works. We were just talking about key bindings, and you control everybody. You can really min-max and get as nitty-gritty as you'd like during that. So there you go. That's full control and how it works. Number 7, dog legs. So there's a lot of ways you can build your base. Do it however you want. But one thing that I found that's incredibly useful is wherever the enemies are going to be coming from that will raid you, have a couple bins or dog legs like this. What this does is let you set up your defenses here in whatever your central room is going to be. And it means that the enemies that are coming in have to walk through. Now, these probably look a little longer than they might need to be, but remember, some enemies will dig into your base. So what I'm trying to avoid is them digging through this. I want them to make this walk. The reason why is I can line this walkway with traps once I unlock traps as a technology. And also, if the enemy has archers, they can't really bring very many of them to bear if they've just got 3 squares here. But if I've got archers, I could have 20 of them here, pew-pew-pewing everybody that's standing here. And I can also set up my defenses right here so that I get 3 attacks to their 1. So wherever it is that you're going to have people coming from, have them going through these series of curves or tunnels or dog legs, whatever you want to call them, so that you're maximizing your ranged units, minimizing theirs, and maximizing your melee front when you get attacked. Number 8, I found that it's kind of useful to have sort of a game plan in mind as you're beginning to excavate. So it can be at your very first entrance, which we've talked some about how I like the dog-legged entrances and exactly what I like to do there. Looks like we'll have to adjust and go down instead. It's not a problem. But kind of bear in mind what sort of structure you'd like. I sometimes like to have a grand hallway and then stairs leading up and stairs leading down, but we also know that we're going to need things like a training area. Perhaps we're going to need an area for bookcases. We're going to need somewhere for crafting. We're going to need somewhere for quarters. And you can sort of do this regardless of what level you're on, whether you're on the top floor or the bottom floor. Your imps should kind of always be busy excavating and harvesting trees, especially in the beginning of the game. But this is kind of a minor one, but I found it's pretty useful to, as you're just digging, not to go in and mindlessly start digging, but to kind of keep in mind the rooms and the structure that you'd like to build as you're going. Number 9, I want to talk for a minute about keeper management and how to keep your keeper alive. So there's kind of some extremes here. One is you grab your keeper and you drag them into a room with a door. Let's let him get in there. We've got a little poetry table. We've got a bed, and then you lock the door and they stay in here and they're never going to fight anything. They're never going to do anything besides write bad poetry, and this is their life now. And when we go on dungeon runs and adventures, we'll just take our goblins and our bandits and whatever else we have. Another one is to kit out your keeper and give them everything you possibly can, all the good gear. They'll get pretty good as you level them up through experience. But the main thing you want to do is make sure that they don't die. I've already gone over a big part of that, which is make sure if you're in a raid with them or you're defending your dungeon or whatever, that you are directly controlling your keeper and do not let the AI do it. Another big one you can do is come over here to activity and disable abusing minions. Now, this is fine in the beginning of the game. It improves morale a little bit, but once you've dug down 15 levels and up 5, all of that area is claimed tiles for you, and you're going to have minions down there doing crap, whether it's digging things or mining, or maybe you're building a bridge or whatever, and your keeper will randomly run around and try to abuse minions on all of these different levels as that's happening, which means when one of your miners accidentally digs into a cave with a bunch of angry dwarves, your keeper might be right there smacking that imp on the butt, and those angry dwarves kill them and your game's over before you even realize what's happened. So those are the very big ones I would suggest as far as keeper management. Do what you want, whether you want to have your keeper be out there on the front lines fighting and gaining XP, or just hiding so that you don't lose the game. There's no judgment here. Play it how you want. But I would suggest that when you're in a combat situation, you control your keeper and that you turn off abusing minions so that you kind of have a general idea of where your keeper is going to be, probably in their quarters. And number 10, as promised, this is kind of a big one, and it's really more of a philosophy thing than anything else. This took me a minute to get because there's two facets to this game, right? There's the base building, and then there's the tactical combat. And what I understood after dying 3 times before I finally got my first win is how to put that in perspective. And here's kind of how that works. You need to raid to build your base, not build your base to raid. That may not make a lot of sense, so let's dive in a little bit deeper. This game is about building a base, and as you're doing that, you will eventually hit bottlenecks where you need more technologies to build the base. That's when you should strike out. If you strike out sooner and your base isn't prepared or ready, you're going to have knights or elementalists or somebody come raid your base and kill you and end your game. Or you're going to end up getting into a fight that you can't actually win. So what I would encourage you to do is get through and build all of the rooms that you can that you're going to need. Make sure you have your training room and you've got your wooden dummies. Make sure you have living spaces set up for your units with some dining tables, maybe a library if you have the technology unlocked, and that you're running your workshop and that your forge is going. And then once you've done all of that, start looking to get out there and start fighting somebody. While we're at the point of fighting somebody, I'll give you one last bonus tip. As you look at each of your minions, there's a number next to them. This is a rough estimate of their combat power, basically what their attack is. So we can look here and see that our goblin's power is roughly in the high 20s, with the exception of this one bro here who is just tough as nails because he's gotten 11 kills and has some experience. So if we're going to fight somebody, we'd like them to be in the 30s too. When we go look at the world overview, it'll show us these little numbers here, right? See the icons of the zombies? There's like a 25 on their head. We could totally kick these zombies' butts. Whereas if we go down here to the knights, there's a 72 and a 45. We're not going to be able to beat them. We don't want to go fight them right now. And this white dragon is a 79. Probably not for us. The ants would also be a big challenge. Whereas these gnomes, we might be able to go run their dungeon. I'm going to have to do another tips video to explain dungeons because we're out of time here. But this will just give you a basic idea of where you can go and what you can expect. All right, so that's going to do it for this video. If you have enjoyed it, please consider leaving a comment, giving it a thumbs up, maybe even subscribing to the channel. If you guys and gals leave a lot of comments, I'll make some more videos because I've already thought of a few more things I could have explained. And I do want to talk through some of the other strats, like how do you play gnomes, how do you play undead, because that can be a little intimidating as well. And if I missed anything that you think really needs to be explained to new players, please leave that in the comments as well. All right, thank you for watching, and happy keeping.